Hello and welcome everybody to the second episode of the Z-Axis, the FPS+Z podcast. I'm Winners with One. We're here with a great panel tonight, or today, or whenever you're listening to this, through the time delay magic of the podcast system. You can listen to this anytime. And we've got a big lineup here. Freaky is here. Hello, Freaky. We're going around the list to tell us about yourselves and what you do.
Well, hello everybody. I'm Shoutcaster Extraordinaire and wannabe pro player.
Right on. Ron X is here. Good evening, Ron X.
Hello, Winters. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Tell the people about a little bit about your background. And
all right, I am a Tribes player. I used to play for Egocentric. I still play for Egocentric.
Nice.
I'm currently focusing on moving into the Titanfall comp scene. Hopefully, it all goes well with that, and we actually have a comp scene. And I also start doing streaming. And I run a website, a new gaming journalism website called crits.org. So that's my new project at the moment.
Crits.org.
Shameless plug.
Yeah. I've got to plug it straight away. Yeah,
that's what we're here for, man.
Yep. I'm doing that. It's a gaming journalism and entertainment website. So, yep, that's me. And also,
Awesome.
I am King.
Yes, of course. And we will be talking about Titanfall probably at some length in this cast today, because that's been something that's been out for a few weeks now. So we've had a little bit of time to kind of digest it and get first impressions and maybe second and third impressions by this time. Bug Spray is here. You might have remembered him from our last cast. Good evening, Bugs.
Hey everybody, I'm a former Tribes 1, 2, Vengeance, Ascend player. Didn't play Tribes Aerial Assault, unfortunately. Or maybe fortunately, I don't know.
I did, unfortunately.
Good old PlayStation 2. Was it 1 or 2?
2.
I believe it was 2, yes.
And then went to Legions and played all those games competitively. And then after Legions became a community project, I became the project lead for it for a couple of years. I think around 3 or 4 years of development now. And then now working on the elusive Project Z.
Project Z, the very mysterious Project Z. Yes, another FPS+Z title coming out. And tonight we have our guest is J-Town, a.k.a. Justin. Should we call you J-Town, man, the creator of Telos?
Yeah, either one's fine. I'm developing a FPS called Telos, trying to bring some creativity back from the golden age of FPS games back in like 2000.
Awesome, man. Well, we'll definitely be talking a lot about Telos as well. There's a lot going on in the FPS+Z scene, and it's been a while since we talked, gentlemen, so let's get right into it. We're talking about Titanfall. Now, that's probably as close to a AAA FPS+Z-ish title that we're going to see for a while. Who knows? But it has been out for a bit now, and a lot of the people that we saw from Tribes and other games have embraced it pretty heavily, I think. So that's been interesting.
Yeah, it's actually going really, really well at the moment. The developers are really behind this game at the moment. They're doing a very good job at trying to get like the features that everyone are asking for to be put into the game. Probably not as fast as some people would like, obviously, because you know how people are. They want to have things straight away. But as far as Titanfall goes right now, we're looking at like a really good, title that a lot of people will appreciate, that in the FPS+Z community. So,
Freaky, your thoughts?
Well, that's good news to me, because I loved it straight out of the box. I played it hardcore with you guys, Red X over at Ego, for like, I don't know, a week and a half. And then, but we played so much that we started being G2s and G3s and G4s. It's kind of like the, what is it? The
Prestige.
Yeah, Prestige. Yeah. Like, and like we had Alchemy, who was like a G7. And since it's the style of, oh my god, we played too much.
Fancy.
But, I mean, back then, it was just the pub status and no one wanted to play with a G3 or over. So we would queue for an hour and I would get bored and go play something else. And so I just kind of stopped playing. But now that since I have just been told that the private lobbies are up and you can play some sort of competitive style, there's some things that I would like to see changed as well. But I will definitely boot it up later. So that's good to know.
Well, so
Yeah.
I'm curious, how does the different prestige levels actually affect the matchmaking? Like, why wouldn't they want to play with a lower prestige? Is it just the how easy the players are, or what? Does it affect like the stats?
It's basically it's the same as like Call of Duty. It's who's played the most.
Yeah, well, with this game compared to other Call of Duties, you actually have to do like kind of challenges to get between each next generation level.
To like graduate.
Yeah, it's like that's a perfect example. Yeah, it's like graduating through each of the ranks. Some of them are incredibly difficult. I'm sure you've heard all the drama over the Goosa challenge, which is like the equivalent of the mid-airing somebody in tribes. So the Goosa challenge, basically when someone ejects out of a Titan, they fly really, really high up in the air, and the idea is for you to kill that person as they're up in the air. They originally set the challenge to 50, and they've actually reduced it down to 5 because so many people were having so much difficulty with it. So yeah, it was
all the people
fun
that had 50, like yourself, I guess. Yes,
it took me 20 hours to do it because of the way that the game's like set up. It's very difficult to actually do it because people don't usually eject out the Titans, and when they do, sometimes they cloak. So trying to hit a cloaked target out of the air is really, really difficult. So.
Wow, and so see, we wonder about this game progression stuff. Do you need it in a game? Is it important to have in a game? But yet it's compelling enough to keep you locked in to try to get those challenges. So I guess that kind of, I don't know, Bugs, you've played this game a lot, I know. I saw where you and Guitar Guy were streaming a while back, our good friend Guitar Guys. So your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, oddly enough, I took a little bit of a break because I was over in Europe for a couple of weeks right after Titanfall came out. So I'm not quite G9 yet, but I'm sure I could still kick Ryan X's ass. Can I say ass on the cast?
Absolutely.
Right? Well, I guess I'll probably kick ass. But as far as progression goes, I've actually personally never been a fan of the sort of superficial like level increases. I feel like if you have a progression system, it should be either like harder. I mean, I guess you have the challenges that kind of make it harder, but like have something where it takes a lot more time to get up. It doesn't become quicker because don't you get like faster XP or something like that with Titanfall's G levels?
Yes, you do. Yeah. Actually, by the time you start getting around to G7 and stuff, you kind of ignore how like your levels go up. Once you get to 50, then you're more focused on the challenges anyway. It becomes more about doing those challenges in particular.
Right. So totally makes sense, and it seems like that's sort of the limiting factor. But I feel like if you have like an XP system, I almost feel like it should be harder. You should have to earn more XP over time to get those sort of higher levels, and that way it's more of a reflection of the time spent instead of the challenges completed. But that's just my personal preference. I'm sure people like it the other way too.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Well, I'm curious as to what you guys think about the longevity of the game. We're already seeing some people say, well, there's no depth to it. Once you've played all the maps, there's a DLC pack coming out, I understand, soon with 3 new maps. But is there enough game to keep people engaged until they get those things in, like a spectator mode? And, well, the private matches, I think that will help a lot. Mm-hmm. But until features get more complete in the final product, is it enough to keep people playing the game until then?
Yeah, I think there's something definitely there about the game for sure that people really enjoy. I think it bridges the gap between the kind of the dull overuse of the kind of corridor shooter that Call of Duty had become, and adding the extra dimension. Yeah, adding the the extra dimension into it's kind of and all the Titans themselves and everything adds a lot to the game that people just thoroughly enjoy. Mm-hmm. I could also talk about as well that they're actually doing a comp. Like there's a comp scene being set up right now. As soon as private servers came out, pugs were instantly set up. So yeah, there's definitely something going on there now. People are very interested in this.
Yeah, ESL is about to start running competitions, so that's a good sign for the game. I think the involvement of ESL.
Yeah. No, literally the day of the patch that added the private lobbies, good old Fire, and a couple of people from the old tribes community like set up a pugs mumble, So yeah, everyone was like super hyped for it, but there's still like a few things that need to be balanced into the game, or people need to kind of review it before we start getting a proper scene going. Because at the moment, there's a few things that are just way too strong for their own good.
So how are burn cards going to play into the competitive scene?
We won't use burn cards.
You can just
Not at
disable
all?
them?
No burn cards because they're too much.
There's some that are just
cards
way too OP.
Yeah, we can talk about the burn cards, like, and how strict, like how unbelievably good they are. Dropping Titans in at the start of a match, for example, is super strong. If you get one Titan, not a problem. Most of your team will take it down, no problem. But if you drop more than 3 in, especially during like an attrition match or something like a hard point, it's near impossible to stop it because you just start to roll over the other team very quickly with that. So it kind of breaks the fluidity of the gameplay, how it kind of evolves as things go on. Something that tends to happen is that when the enemy team starts to drop Titans in, you'll see like the other people will try and boost out, kill grunts and everything really quickly so that they can put their own Titans out, and it becomes more of a last Titan standing match very quickly. And you start to kind of evolve the gameplay around that. So things kind of change dynamically. You start to see some very different adjustments, and some people who are struggling through a match that aren't doing very well will suddenly turn around and change a game just because they pull the Titan out that killed 3 of the enemy Titans, for example. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting things going on there, but like I said, some things have got to be absolutely fixed first before before comp can really be start, or we're just gonna have to start planning things.
Well, I hate
Satchels.
to bring it up, but I my first thought is, what kind of weapon bans are they putting in? Will I get to use my dumb pistol? I love the dumb pistol. I just go and do.
Go back to
dumb
console.
Like the console, yeah. No, see, the thing with the smart pistol is the smart pistol doesn't really kind of affect the gameplay too much. It still takes you about a second or two to lock onto somebody and get that kill. It's great on maps like attrition and stuff, and maybe for select things. But guns like the carbine, the car, the SMG, the shotgun, they're all brilliant. The sniper rifle's great.
Beastin', man. Yeah.
The shotgun needs some kind of toning down, but for the most part, the
range is ridiculous.
Yeah, the range is just so far.
I'm like hitting people across the football field with a shotgun blast. Yeah, it's
yeah. So, I mean, the only thing that I've got a massive problem with, and a lot of other people have a problem with, is the satchels. Now, the satchels basically I don't know if you guys have ever played Bomberman, but the remote detonator in Bomberman is the most sought after item in that game. As soon as you get that, you can tilt a game into your favor because you can just detonate things instantly.
There was a satchel in T2 that was rather OP.
Yeah, well, I mean, this one, you can just throw it at somebody and you can't avoid it. It's unbelievably good. All the rest of the grenades aren't that great in comparison. Arc mines maybe are pretty close. They're really good at screwing up Titans, but satchels just blow everything else out of the water, and it's even better than using a shotgun. So, it's one of the things they got to fix. They got to add a proc timer to it, for example, or it has to be used when it hits the floor, for example. People would have no problem with that, but at the moment it's just stupid being able to blow it about the air. It's like the jackal in Tribes. Yeah, you could anti-air. The best, yeah. you could blow it up in the air. It was unbelievable when it was first came out. So yeah, it's like the jackal at the moment. So people just want to see it removed for now. But yeah,
I have a quick question for you, Renix.
Sure.
Admittedly, I have not been able to play enough Titanfall to even hit my first G level or play anything close to comp. But I'm actually curious. In Tribes, you see people who sort of differentiate themselves by utilizing the Z-axis appropriately. Are you seeing that in Titanfall, where there's just some guys who are dominating in the infantry combat using the Z-axis, hanging on walls and that sort of thing?
Yeah, definitely. You can do some things with the shotgun the shotgun's really strong, don't get me wrong. The way that it's used, though, you're using full every single angle. Basically, you're climbing on walls and you can shoot it pretty straight. Pistols as well are pretty good on walls. SMGs as well. So you can do that. You can really take you're looking up a lot more. You're looking everywhere. You know, you need to do it all the time. Otherwise, it's just not like, it's just too fast a game, and it plays more like Quake or Unreal Tournament, where you need to be looking in all directions and need to be like, you know, really precise with your aim. You know, you need to be spot on. So,
well, also to complement that is CTF, where it's very comparable to the skiing in Tribes, where the more you link them together, the more jumps and wall runs and jumps that you do, the faster you end up going. And so, you know, people have learned already cap routes for the CTF match.
Yeah, boy, Egocentric put some on us the other night when we ran into him in the game. Qualm and the whole crew were there. And yeah, they definitely have the Z-axis movement working in the CTF in a preordained way where you can get to the flag and out of it pretty quickly. You know, maybe not as quickly as skiing or something like that, but definitely using the wall is a very interesting way to get around, and it works pretty well in that game. It really does.
Yeah, I've been practicing some routes with Quam as well, showing him some interesting technical stuff. Like we discovered like a few tricks we can do with wall runs and stuff that you might not know yet. So we'll keep those secret for now, but you might see them in the future.
How do you guys feel about the AI grunts in CTF?
I love them. They're hilarious. They're so fun. They add so much to the game.
And when you get kicked by one, is like the biggest, like, that is the equivalent of getting teabagged.
No, you haven't been hit by an archer rocket yet from one. That's insulting.
I think you actually got hit by one right behind me one time.
Yeah, it's funny. They just makes like the whole the environment feel more alive. If you ever run around like those maps when you're not actually trying to do anything and you just like kill it, like, you know, the grunts are not there, it just feels so empty. So what they add to the game is just so much more substantial than any other game.
It feels like it's an actual room where there's actually something to shoot at. Because if you were in that map with just the 6 people playing, well, 12 total, it would be boring. You wouldn't see anyone for 2 minutes.
Yeah, I was going to ask like how the map size felt with that player size. Do you think other games are going to kind of adopt that AI grunt kind of route?
Well, I guess it would work. It would have to work into the game mechanic. In Titanfall, the more grunts you kill, the more points you get to build up your mech drop.
So it have to be like a resource-based thing.
Yeah. It couldn't just be they're there for no reason other than to grab your attention.
Yeah, and they do seem to be kind of MOBA inspired. Maybe not completely, but they are kind of lane pushing.
They
in a
definitely
sort of
have
way.
the same gameplay qualities as creeps do in MOBAs and stuff. Minions, as it were, or whatever.
Is there a competitive advantage to hacking what do you call them, the ghosts?
The specters.
The specters, yeah. Is there a pretty significant competitive advantage to doing that? Because I've done that in the game, and it feels like it just exposes me.
Hacking specters is just simply so you can have specters follow you around. That's it. They're just like little kind of things that help you shoot at other dudes. They don't really kind of add anything else other than, you know, funner. They're just there for fun. It feels like
they worth it.
I don't think so. There's like little tricks you can do with
them, right?
Like at a comp level, they're completely useless. But like during like a pub game, maybe you can like use them to kind of hide behind and like kind of blend in, because you see that you can just use them with body shield to get behind the robot dudes.
Even dress as a spectre yourself, right, with those burn cards.
Yeah, they're just there for fun. That's all it is. I'd like to like hack them and then have them all follow me around and like to hiding them all. And it's also fun to use spectre camo with them. You know, like people really can't see you then because all you just see is a crap load of robots.
So did anybody pick up the season pass yet? I understand they've got the new DLC coming out soon with 3 maps, and it's going to be like what, $10 for 3 maps. I don't know how people feel about that. That's we've always had expansion packs and stuff in these games, but I don't know. Is 3 maps for $10 a good value? I don't know.
No idea. It depends on
They
how
have to
good the
see the
maps
map.
are.
yeah.
I think they're adding a game mode as well. I think they're adding like 2v2 Titans, which sounds alright, I guess.
Have they
Yeah,
announced?
2v2 Last Titan
That's-
Standing, I believe, was confirmed.
That's
as
one of
in
the things I loved about the pub mode of free for all. Like it would just change modes. Is that you play these intense games, yada yada, and then they'll throw in a Titan. What is it? Last Titan Standing, and it's almost like a coffee break. It's like almost like a 5. Take 5.
Yeah, are
Here-
there too
here's
many
a game.
modes? Are there not enough modes?
There's a ton of modes, but only like 3 modes are played. Is what my experience.
What's comp gonna do?
With the modes. Right
Yeah.
now, it seems like there's focus on CTF and Hardpoint.
Mhm.
I don't really know if there's any interest in Last Titan Standing as it is right now, but I mean, I have fun playing it. Some people just hate it. They just think it's really, really bad. But CTF seems to be where a lot of people are going at the moment. Hardpoint is like the other kind of thing that people really like, but I'm not really a fan of it, to be honest.
Yeah, I like CTF the best.
From a spectator perspective, it seems like Hardpoint would be the most boring to watch.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm glad to
CTF
hear
definitely.
CTF is there.
Yeah.
Well, we'll tell you for sure when they put in the spectator mode, which hopefully is coming real soon now.
Yes. Hopefully.
But yeah, I guess in conclusion, Titanfall is a land of contrasts. So yeah, we'll be interested to see where it goes as we go forward, as there's a lot of titles being worked on right now in the FPS+Z genre. And I guess we should have a roundup, guys, and kind of talk about where some of these things are at. Project Freefall, we were usually would have Ignorance and Greth and one or the other on here. They are working on Freefall. I think they might be switching to the Unreal Engine. Not sure. I know that he's talking about working on both versions and then doing something like what Legacy has done and release the code to the community.
Oh. Yeah, last I heard is they went to Unity and hated it within a month and then switched back to Unreal.
Well, I know that didn't they switch for Unreal 4? The Unreal 4
Uh-huh.
release?
Yeah, so like the last video they put out.
Yeah, which Unreal 4 is actually pretty nice. Just from messing with it a little bit, it seems to be able to do quite a bit. So we may see quite a few projects moving towards that. It makes it pretty easy to build out a first-person shooter type of game, and then it's just a matter of putting in the skiing mechanics or the jetpacks or whatever.
So you mentioned that Freefall had released code to the community like Legacy. Are you talking about like every bit of code they've made, or are you talking about just releasing something playable?
I hate to say too much on their behalf because I'm not really sure on that, but I think that the idea that he was going over, I don't know if they're going to do this for sure, was to kind of do both in tandem and then probably release more as an Unreal Engine game. But for what they've worked on in Unity, kind of release that for people to mess with, which speaking of Legacy, I think that's exactly what they did, if I'm understanding correctly. Smooth, we're hoping to have him on the show sometime in the future, but yeah, any word on the Legacy project? Is it being worked on at all right now?
I haven't heard anything from him at all.
That's a no. He said it's done and he's uploaded the code for other people to use. I guess he had some health problems that he never told me about.
Oh man, well, we hate to hear that, man. I was very interested in Legacy, especially because it did the Team Rabbit mode, and I love Team Rabbit mode, man.
I loved it.
Yeah, so specifically, I guess the health issues kind of put a little financial burden on him, so he's trying to focus on his smoothgames.com website, where he's trying to sell Unity add-ins.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't realize that it was going to be done, and he released the code to it?
It's what he said. That's the last I read on IRC.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, all our best goes out to Smooth P. I hope everything works out for him. And what was that site again? Yeah, we'll put a link to it on the thing or whatever.
Bugs?
What was that?
His website?
Smooth Games, is it .com?
Yeah, smooth-games.com.
Smooth-games.com. Okay, awesome. And so, well, I guess that's legacy to the side then. I hate to hear that. What are you guys, how's Project Z going on?
It's going good.
Any exclusive hot news you want to report that's exclusive to the Z-Axis podcast number 2?
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't give a whole lot of information out. We're not quite ready to.
What color's the ground?
Anything. The ground is a multicolored rainbow.
Holy crap!
There you have it, folks. Exclusive. Yeah, we were talking. I saw where Proj was wanting to get on the show with Mabel, and I would not be opposed to that. Proj and Mabel always have interesting things to say about video games.
We'd have to put a warning first.
Warning: the following cast is strictly for adults only.
Yeah, I mentioned to people
This does not represent FPS+Z's views.
no one's views except Prodigy's and Mabel. I mentioned to Mabel, and he's thinking about it, but he didn't want to come on to this one, unfortunately.
Okay. We'll definitely get him on sometime, and if they're still interested in doing it. And so that's, what we've got so far on Project Z. Okay. What other game? Project Next. All these games have Project in them. Yeah, Project Next.
These are new titles. These are new titles that we haven't talked about before.
Yeah, I talked to some of these guys a couple of weeks ago on Project Next. A fellow named Titus, he's doing a lot of the work on it. And they seem to be in a pretty good spot as far as their confidence level of what they're working on and everything. So I'm not sure on a actual time frame on when that's going to be released to the public. I think they're doing some internal testing right now, but it looks pretty interesting, and it seems to be more along the, and you hate to compare it with Titanfall because they were working on wall movement too, but they do have wall movement in it. It works a little differently from what we've seen in just the brief looks that we've had at Project Next. It seems a little bit different from Titanfall in the way that it works, but yeah, it does have it's an arena shooter with a little bit more of that free movement that hopefully Titanfall gives people more of a taste for.
Well, if you watch the video that we'll probably have up here, I think it's on their YouTube. But just what he talks about, you realize they know what they want, and when they try something, they look at it and say, "No, that doesn't feel right, and let's do something else." So I'm really anxious to see where it goes from here.
Yeah, I think right now they're working toward their Kickstarter. In the IRC, they talk kind of about upcoming information they're going to have.
Kickstarter, excellent. We'll link that as well.
From the videos I've seen on specifically the wall running, seems to be that it looks a little bit more less, I want to say full body, for lack of a better word, than Titanfall. Like with Titanfall, it looks like you use your entire body to do some of the different wall running moves, like climbing up on a ledge or things like that. With this one, it seems to be a little bit less connected to that and a little bit more arcade-like. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, it's very early, and it just feels like you stick to the wall. But in that video, they actually talk about they were going to add like a camera tilt and stuff like that. I mean, they know what they want.
I think that's still fair, though. They're definitely going to go for the quick arena shooter kind of thing, so they got to keep it real clean.
Yeah, you've got to strip out all the fluff that you don't need. That's the thing. I mean, with Titanfall, it's like it tries to keep the immersion there. They want to have you actually feeling like you're running against the wall, so you actually feel the footsteps. But with this, it's like it would probably interfere with the gameplay. The comp players would just turn it off, for example. That's not something that they want. They want to keep it so that it's clean, and easy for them to kind of control the game. So.
Yeah, that's where I was kind of getting at. Probably immersive is a much better way to phrase it than full body.
Immersion.
Oh my god. That's where I was getting at. It seems like the arcadiness of it will, again, as you said, kind of limit what they do graphically, and in terms of like limiting what the gameplay is like. They'll probably be opting for more of a flexible kind of way of interacting with your world.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think we can probably all agree that with these types of games that we're really more interested in gameplay as opposed to graphics. If you have to really choose from one or the other, I mean, you've got people that are still playing the original Tribes and Tribes 2 pretty regularly. And, you know, those graphics are from a few years back, to say the least. And so, you know, but they still have a
Just a
pretty
few.
dedicated following. So, okay,
Watch
well
Tribes
hopefully we'll
2.
find out more from Project Next. Oh, Tribes Ascend? Yes, let's talk about that. It's been 2 years since Tribes Ascend was officially released. Now, it was in closed beta and open beta, I guess, for quite a while before that. I know we did a lot of Tribes casts back in the day, well before that. But yeah, it's been officially 2 years since the game's been released. According to its Wikipedia page, I guess it's on hold right now, and while they work on a different title. And so we've kind of been looking at. Yeah, the third person MOBA, yes. They just had a big convention for it that I think went very well. But we never got to do the Tribes Con with them. It's maybe that'll have to wait for Tribes Ascend too. But yeah, we're kind of looking back on where the game has gone since then, and it's the competitive scenes are finally starting to, if not go away completely, kind of ramp down a little bit in terms of participation.
Well, it dwindles down. All the top players that don't see the competition anymore stop playing. So all the lower, able people mesh with the other people, and it makes for a great comp. And that is why T2 survived for so long, and that's why the House League games are always fun. And we just finished up the draft tournament, which went, apart from some drama, went really well. And we had a blast. We casted for like 9 straight hours. It was fun.
There was a drama for it? What happened now?
Oh, jeez. It's just someone used an illegal sub. And, yeah.
That is the problem with every single Tribes draft tournament I've ever been in.
What's funny is we posted it on Reddit for feedback, and, well, I should say Redneck. And I think Mario started it. But anyway, and there was a lot of good feedback, and it might come down to certain blacklists and having people that sub and would have like a red flag next to it, like a warning and stuff like that. And yeah, but just all good stuff. All good stuff.
I want to know who the illegal sub was. I want to know.
It was a Euro.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember who. Anyway, moving right along.
Yeah, so at least for the time being, there's still Tribes Ascend going on, although not quite as it's diminished a little bit. But yeah, as long as the game is around, I think there'll still be people playing it, at least for a while longer.
I'm casting the next draft tourney if I can.
Nice. Draft tournaments are fun, man.
Oh yeah, all day, baby.
Oh, we were going to talk about this game Epoch. Now, Freaky, I know you're telling us a little bit about this, and some of us looked at it. It's there was some talk about it on, I think, the subreddit for FPS+Z, and this looked like more of a sprawling single-player jetpack skiing world with some multiplayer features in it. What was the latest on that? They were doing a Kickstarter or something.
Well, they were doing a Kickstarter, and they were far short of their goal, but it was only about half a month, 3 weeks into their campaign, and it just kind of canceled out of the blue. And then there were rumors that I've heard that I don't know how true they are or not, so don't take me on word value here, but there was some kind of mix-up, and I don't know, something illegal or something happened, and they had to cancel. So I don't know exactly what happened, but I'm really disappointed that it got canceled, because the first 4 minutes of that gameplay video blew me away.
It looked cool.
As any fan of a Tribes-like jetpack skiing game with bouncy legs and just the intrigue of what that first 3 minutes set up, I want to see more.
Yeah, something kind of like when they were talking about, Howard was talking about doing the Tribes Universe MMO.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and it's something that I actually didn't know when I first saw the video, that then I read later on Steam. It just kind of on my screen, and I was like, oh, what's this? But the people behind Epoch were some of the game devs behind Mass Effect 1. And then going back and watching that video and having just played through Mass Effect 1, it totally feels and looks like the Mako on the planet surface and just that kind of physics.
Well, okay, so let me
Very
ask
similar.
you guys. We talked about I think we might have talked about this a little bit in the first episode, but most of these FPS+Z titles that we deal with are mostly multiplayer oriented. Do you think there's room? I mean, you're talking about things like Mass Effect and stuff for a single player type of gameplay of this nature. I mean, it's sort of a whole different animal than, doing comp and we're picking this weapon, we're banning this weapon and that sort of thing. Is there a market for that, for the single player type of skiing and jetpacking?
Can I go first?
Yes.
There definitely
Yes.
is. Absolutely. I think it's one of those things that people would actually, thoroughly enjoy if it could be developed more. I think everyone's got their own like kind of pipe dreams of how you can integrate these like skiing and things down into like single player games. And if you want to see something that's about as close as you can get to that kind of thing, that doesn't really kind of use a jetpack, but uses like a more like speed and momentum in that kind of regard, pick up Vanquish. For the like Xbox 360 or PlayStation. That game, although it's not like got a jetpack or whatever, the sheer momentum and speed of that game is, it's built around that kind of aspect that you're thinking about. I think that more games like that, and better utilization of like using all three angles as opposed to just like corridor shooters and stuff, will really go far. I think that people really, really do kill for it. And I would also like to point out as well, it's another third-person game, but Cloud Built. If you haven't heard of Cloud Built yet,
You sent that link for that. That looks interesting.
That's a very, very good kind of game that does use a jetpack. It does use parkour elements and everything, and it's it's like an obstacle course in a way. I picked it up because it just kind of really enticed me. It's almost like a blend between Super Meat Boy and Mega Man.
What?
Cloud Built.
So it's playable right now. Is it early access?
It's still being developed on, but like the full game's been released as far as I'm concerned. No, it's out. It's already on Steam. You can pick it up for about I think it's like $10, $20.
$20.
It's definitely worth it. It's a very, very difficult game. I'm not going to lie, I struggled like crazy and I've shouted at my wife saying shut up. Yeah, it's very, very difficult. It's a very, very tough game. The mechanics don't feel like as perfect as they can be. The wall run in particular, a lot of people complained about it not being like perfect, but you have to consider things like energy management correctly. You've got to have good timing, good speed, and everything like that. And it's built for people who like to speedrun games as well. They're people who are, very, very in touch with that community. Some of the stuff I've seen come out of that game is incredible. Some of the people that play it are, really, really good. There's some really good videos on the Steam forums if you want to check those out, and how people can complete maps that, in half the time that like the highest, ranking they expect you to get. It's really cool. Like people have done some wicked stuff with it. So they're hoping to add in like a demo recording feature and a level editor in the future as well, which sounds really, really good. So they're just trying to sort it out with Steam, I think, to get like a workshop put up for it. But like with these things, people can easily get workshops going for it now. So
yeah, this reminds me of is Tribes 1 Extreme Ski. I don't know if you guys ever played those maps.
I remember racing.
I remember racing in T2.
Oh, in T2, yeah. Well, the Tribes
I
1
remember
Extreme
racing
Ski,
in T1.
an
I
actual
never played it in T2.
like vehicles.
No, you would just start going immediately super fast, and then you would just ski along ramps and stuff.
Did you guys play surf maps in Counter-Strike?
No.
Oh yeah.
It's similar, where you're just racing down crazy courses, all using like an exploit. So it's nothing like Counter-Strike.
Oh, I've seen those videos. Yeah, that's exactly like Tribes 1 was, but you had to use your jetpack and hit the ramp right, or else you pancake. I don't know how you move in the Half-Life 1.
Yeah, like those racing maps in Shootmania. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I'm going to pivot this over to Justin a little bit because we want to talk about Telos because we're all very interested in where that's going, and it's good to have you on the show, by the way, man. And so will it have a single player? Are you interested in creating a single player experience for Telos, or will it be multiplayer only?
I have zero interest in a campaign. It's all about competitive multiplayer for me, but there might be like kind of quick challenges to help teach the mechanics of the game, and maybe I would have like leaderboards for that where you can compete and stuff like that. But yeah, no like story and single player stuff like that.
Okay, and how many are you thinking about team size or anything like that yet? I don't know how far along you are in development as far as maps and modes and things like that.
Yeah, right now the plan is focus on 5v5.
Huh, okay.
Kind of gear everything, kind of build everything toward competitive play. Much kind of like the Dota 2 kind of scene where it's not exclusively for the esports scene, but it's a big consideration, and all the game modes or the one game mode is kind of built around known player counts and known maps.
Oh, interesting. Have you thought about a business model for it yet? Is this going to be a free-to-play game, or will there be a fee for it, or?
Not yet decided. I think free-to-play is probably easier for bigger companies or games that are very accessible and like with no learning curve, or kind of remakes of older games. So you have an existing player base that already knows how to play. I'm worried that if I make it free-to-play and I require people to learn how to play these new mechanics, that they'll kind of give up and not be invested in it, and they'll kind of throw it away after 5 minutes. But if they've paid 10 or 20 bucks, they might kind of think they need to spend a few hours to give it a shot.
Oh, like they've got value invested in it.
Right. They're not going to spend 20 bucks and play it for 5 minutes and not touch it again. They're going to feel like they need to kind of learn it.
Do you think that well, we've seen some other games do that, and then sometimes it works, and then sometimes it doesn't. I know that some of the guys were talking about whether Strike Vector counts as an FPS+Z, and that's more of a, I guess, probably the 6 degrees of freedom, like Descent and stuff. But it had a pay model, and then I've already seen people saying that they're having a hard time finding as many people to play with, and so is that a pitfall that you worry about?
Yes, that's definitely the other side of the coin. So I have some thoughts on that. I have an idea that I haven't kind of prototyped as far as addressing that. So I don't know if it's technically possible, but it's definitely something I think about.
So this is a game with movement, and I think it has grappling hooks in it too, doesn't it, of some sort?
Yeah, that's one of the equipment you'll be able to have in your loadout to add some extra mobility.
Cool. And I never like to ask people when they think the game is going to be out. I mean, soon is always the answer to this, but are you pretty happy with where you guys are as far as the development of the project? You think we'll be able to see some playable stuff coming pretty soon?
Beta maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's never going as quickly as I'd like it to go. But yeah, I mean, so I've already got networking in there. I have the first weapon in there, and so I've already gotten it to where I can play and kill other players and all that. But as far as release, way too early to tell. I'm hoping that I can get it to some kind of public by the end of the year. But by that, I mean like maybe like a wave of early release kind of thing. There's a game called Intruder that is doing it kind of like that, where they'll open it up a little bit, let some people get in, but they do it in waves.
That's a good way to build up hype for a game as well. I have to admit, I absolutely love the Ghost in the Shell style spider tanks.
Me too.
Really
Me too.
really
Do
fun.
not change those.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the biggest complaint I get, and I really like them too. And I'm trying to figure out what they don't like about them so that I can either address that perception. I mean, I don't think I'm going to change it, but
Put a badass skin on it, they'll shut up right
Well,
away.
yeah, I want to know why. I think if I build it out and get better art for it, because that's obviously placeholder artwork right there, that might improve things. This doesn't look good enough yet, but yeah, I don't know why people are so attached to the humanoid.
My guess would be it's hitbox related. Would you think so, guys? That people are used to that vertical hitbox, and then your Tachkoma-esque thing is going to be a little bit more in a horizontal sense.
Yeah, I've seen that complaint once.
I honestly think it'd be better if you added like some kind of customization. If you like kind of split it up a bit, almost like a Armored Core style thing going on, where you can have the 4 legs or whatever, but have like kind of humanoid shapes and stuff as well. I think if you kind of play around with that kind of aspect, you could have something really fun there and give some people kind of customization. That's always like a route you can take with that, and it might just shut people up as well. If you could even like give people the ability to kind of like modify the way the robot looks and stuff very kind of intensely, it might give people a lot of freedom. So I don't know.
Well, that brings up an interesting thing, man. Are you interested in making it a more complex game as you go, and then just iterating it out, or is this going to be more of a simple type gameplay? Or are you interested in doing things like customization and things of that nature?
Yeah, I think that's where I really like the Dota model in terms of user-generated content and creating an economy for players to not only download content but also contribute and kind of profit off of that.
Thank you.
Like the Steam Workshop?
Yeah, that's like a long-term goal. It's hard to say like how soon I'd get that in, but I think that'd probably be after like the early access. So after it's being played by people and the gameplay is solid, then I start building out those kind of aesthetic features like that.
Oh, okay. Well, I've seen a lot of things about it, the game, and there seems to be a lot of interest in the community. Is there something that you'd like people to know about the game that may not have been covered in some of these things that have been where you've been doing interviews and stuff?
That's a tough question. I like how it's kind of been a slow trickle of information because it lets me continue building up that interest.
So you're the only person working on this?
Right now, yeah.
Okay.
I got a friend I've got several people who have volunteered their services. I'm trying to come up with some kind of legal agreement to where it's fair to everybody. Because it's hard to do that without a lawyer. I don't want to get into like just today I had a friend announce that his game was canceled because the programmer bailed out right before they formed a company and had an agreement for working with a publisher, but they'd already been working on the game for like a year, so that was a year of wasted effort.
Oh wow! So
I want to avoid that and get those kind of agreements settled before anything can kind of be lost.
The commercial I heard the most on XM radio this past month was "Incorporate today."
Kill me.
Yeah, I think as far as what I want people to know is a lot of like some people who see it paint it as a like a casual, simple game, and it's definitely not going to be anything like that. I think I risk alienating people by having too much to learn, if anything. So there's definitely some more advanced stuff that'll be there in the features and the game mode and all that.
So you really want to feature the movement. That's because that seems to be what we talk about a lot here on the Z-axis. And yeah, that's something that it seems like there's a thirst for among people who play first-person shooters.
Yeah, that's part of kind of what I think was missing from FPS since like 2001 is everybody just got more grounded and none of the games thought about movement beyond making it realistic and immersive. And so I kind of want to bring it back to the days of tribes and giants with jetpacks and cool stuff like that, and really kind of make the movement part of the skill.
So one thing I was wondering is, what kind of weapons are you planning on using?
There'll be some.
What kind of? Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be some like archetypes that people will be familiar with, but I want to kind of mix it up. I did post a teaser on Reddit for Screenshot Saturday of the first one. And so this is kind of a general purpose weapon. You can find GIFs of it online. And I'll have a video of that hopefully within the next week or two. I need to find time to get somebody to help playtest with me on the LAN. But yeah, so the first weapon is kind of a general purpose bread and butter weapon. So it's kind of boring, but I wanted to kind of make it interesting anyway. Yeah, so there's a semi-automatic mode, and then you can transform that into the full auto mode. And there's some cool visuals to kind of tell you when you're about to kind of overheat in a way where the recoil really goes crazy.
And you say you're talking about thinking of 5v5 type of competitive, making that type of game. Is there a particular mode that you think suits that gameplay well for what you're making? Is it going to be like a CTF oriented, or is it going to be more like a your Team Rabbit 2, or where it's like the sport of the future type of thing, or is it going to be another mode entirely? Just plain old deathmatch or etc.
Yeah, so the reason that I'm kind of going with 5v5 is because it fits well with competitive play, but also if I focus on 5v5, I can kind of build everything around there being 5 players, which means I can kind of craft roles for each player in a similar way to the MOBAs have. So you got people in certain lanes, you have like a jungler, you have carriers, defensive support, and all that. And so right now, the plan is to have a CTF inspired mode. It'll be a variant. And one of my goals is to kind of have it be progressive throughout the match. So one thing I like about MOBAs is that the first 10 minutes are a lot different than the last 10 minutes. There's a progression there. And with most first-person shooters, it's like the same 5-minute chunk or the same 30-second chunk over and over and over again, especially with like team deathmatch. And so Capture the Flag, I think, is interesting. I don't like the idea of future sports in games like Smash Ball and Rabbit because it's kind of like a waste, in my opinion. We have these virtual worlds. We can make them look cool. We don't have to make them look like sports, even if they functionally behave like sports. So Capture the Flag, to me, is like a good balance between looking cool and feeling cool, but also having the structure of a sport that is good for gameplay reasons.
I guess it kind of cycles back to Titanfall in a way, with the way that the first 10 minutes and the last 10 minutes of a game change. Like I said before, with the last time, like with the kind of the way that Titans get dropped in, like almost in unison with one another, that changes the dynamic of a game completely. So, that's something that people would like to see, is like those kind of orchestrations of like, the kind of dramatic scope of a game changing because something goes on, and that also makes it entertaining to watch as well as experience and play. So,
yeah, exactly.
It's good that you want to do that in your game, because I think it kind of breaks the monotony of so like Call of Duty, where you just go around just gunning things all day and getting like high, kill streaks and stuff.
Yeah, because I think it also helps with spectator. It's more interesting to watch the whole match if it's got those rising and falling tensions.
Cool. So you're gearing it also for not only to be played competitively, but also to be watched as people play it competitively. I know as casters, a lot of us in here, we are always happy to hear that, and that people are implementing spec mode. I think it's so important in games. So you're designing it from the ground up to be as entertaining to view as it is to actually play then.
Yeah, and so that'll be seen in like kind of weapon design. There's not going to be like invisible bullets. Yeah, so my history is like I played Counter-Strike competitively, and then after that kind of fell out of the esports scene, and I feel like first-person shooters kind of ignored that scene, and that's kind of where MOBAs fill in that vacuum. Because everything kind of went toward the Call of Duty thing, where it was all just point at them, shoot invisible bullets, they fall down, and it's not very fun to watch.
Yeah, and we've seen that complaint a lot from people, because I guess the MOBA thing has gotten people accustomed to watching that, and your RTSs, your StarCraft and so forth, or Hearthstone, God help us, the card games, gotten people used to watch that. And I actually hear people say that first-person shooters aren't as fun to watch. I guess maybe that's one of the things that they're thinking of when they say something like that. Yeah, I know, because to me, I mean, things like Counter-Strike in your old days of CPL and Cal and all that, all this stuff, kind of competitive play, comes from first-person shooters.
I feel like the people who make that argument haven't actually watched it yet, because I feel like they think they're just going to watch someone play and it'll be in their first-person mode. When you're in spectator, you can pull back and give it drama, give it environment.
Yeah, but what's at the top of esports and FPS right now? It's Call of Duty, and that's exactly what it is. You're watching some guy playing a console.
Yep.
So, I mean, I don't blame them for thinking that, and that's kind of what I want to change. I want to try and see what what I can bring back to the first-person shooter genre in terms of esports and spectator ability.
I appreciate that, sir.
Yes, it's definitely what we like to hear, man. Any other questions for Justin about Telos? You can find it at playtelos.com, at least the basic information about the game and where you guys are at. And you run a blog there, I understand, and stuff that tells us about the game?
Yeah, that's where the development blog is. I have a splash page up now to try and give it like an intro, but I'm still working on the text for that. I feel like I struggle with marketing and kind of copywriting and all that.
I actually had a question. The zero gravity, how do you think that'll play into the gameplay?
To me, it's mostly exciting in terms of level design. So some parts of the levels will have that zero gravity and some parts won't. So the platforming, if you, for lack of a better term, will be really interesting. I've prototyped a game back in 2010 that was only zero gravity, and it turned out pretty fun, but it definitely takes some getting used to.
It's almost like a Ender's Game Academy.
I'm actually reading that right now.
Really?
People have been telling me to read it, and I haven't read it. I read the graphic novel a while ago to try and get a shortcut, and it was pretty bad, so I picked up the actual book.
Don't watch the movie either.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait till I've finished the book.
Yes, good idea.
But yeah, have you guys played Shattered Horizon?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think I started developing the original prototype around the time that came out, and I was like, well, I like the zero gravity is pretty fun, but it's so slow. There's like one gun, and it's the most boring gun they could have imagined. And like whenever you land on the surfaces, it just felt awful, and you always kind of just like float back off of it. And so I wanted to see kind of how much better I could do.
Yeah, that game was so cool. That was another one of those like that, though, of the, oh man, you know, I would love to play that with people, except there's nobody playing it type of games.
Yeah. So that's definitely a big problem, especially because it's indie. I don't have a good marketing budget. So that's going to be something that I try and address, definitely.
Awesome. Are you looking at making it playable on low spec type of computers too, on a low end type of system?
Probably.
Okay, it's running in Unity, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. How do you like Unity?
I've been using it pretty much exclusively for the past 4, if I did my math, maybe 5 years. So I love it.
I was going to ask, actually, have you thought about setting up maybe like a small thing like QuakeCon or like another gaming kind of festival and seeing if you can get like some PR going that way? Because that's like you want to kind of, especially at QuakeCon, I'm sure if you set up like a bunch of rigs that are running it, people will sit down and play it. So,
and also you were talking about PAX South.
Yeah.
They have indie booths as well.
So I've done a booth for one of my older games, and it was a ton of fun to get feedback and watch people play. The problem now is that I'm doing a multiplayer game. It's online multiplayer, and so with booths, you either have to have a lot of stations, so you literally just have a LAN there, or you have to have internet. But internet's usually really expensive and really slow at those conventions. So yeah, it'll be hard to do it like at a PAX. I'm not sure what I'm kind of throwing around ideas. Like they have the indie mega booth, which I think is smart, and I'm wondering maybe if I can meet up with other online indie game developers that are making online multiplayer games and come up with like a online multiplayer indie mega booth where maybe we have one booth with like 8 stations, but we rotate. So maybe like throughout the day, different games are on the same physical stations. But yeah, I definitely figured out, because going to conventions is not just good for PR, but it's great for playtesting, because you get to watch people play for the first time. You get to see kind of how they're learning it and all that, and it's awesome. But
we'll definitely be talking about QuakeCon, man, because it looks like I'll be going back to cast there for the 3rd straight year with the good folks at Esports Solutions. So very excited about that. And we will be featuring lots of different games being casted and played for tournament money in the BYOC again this year. I'm not sure if Hi-Rez is coming back. If so, I'm not sure if they're doing Tribes. You know, last year they did Tribes Ascend and Aggressive Crotch Display, everybody's favorite.
PAX,
No, not at PAX.
Didn't at PAX West.
Yeah, what date is QuakeCon? Because it's like July now, right?
It is, yeah. It's around the weekend of July 20th or so, yes.
Yeah, I was kind of upset that they moved it up, because I was like, I need more time to get a build ready. So
well, and also it's the same weekend as the International, which is kind of a tough date. Yeah.
So yeah, I'd like to have a build at QuakeCon where people can play. I think whether or not they're at some kind of official custody, like a sanctioned tournament or something, would kind of depend on how far I get. But at the very least, I'd like to get like a few friends and whoever else happens to be in the IRC channel to check it out.
Cool. Well, we're definitely looking forward to the game, man. It sounds like all the things that you're talking about bringing to the game are stuff that people really want from these types of games. And yeah, there's a lot of projects going on right now in the FPS+Z genre, so to speak. And I think that Telos is definitely one that has a lot of potential. And I like it because it seems to be doing something different from all the other games, too, that are coming out as well.
That's what I like to hear. Hopefully I can pull it off.
Well, any final thoughts from everybody? Let's go down the rows here. Bug Spray, anything from you? We haven't heard from you in a bit, man. Are you still there?
Final thoughts on Telos or the entire cast?
On Telos, yes, and also on the entire cast, yes. Or if there's anything that we haven't covered in the world of FPS+Z that we probably should before we start winding things down.
Well, on Telos, all I can say is I'm looking forward to seeing the final product. I remember when finding that video, I was pretty excited. Like I was like, it's Tachikoma's flying around, and I started watching some of the gameplay, and it made me actually pretty excited about it. So, looking forward to whatever you come up with. And yeah, as Rhinex mentioned in our little chat here, you should definitely have a Tachikoma skin you can buy or something like that, because that'd be hilarious.
Yeah, Rhinex, how about you? Any final thoughts, man?
I'm really looking forward to Telos. I have to admit, when I came into today, I wasn't even expecting to talk about it because I think I'd only seen a little bit of it. But after like sitting down and actually speaking to the developer now, I'm actually very, very hyped for it, and I honestly wish you every success. So I'm excited, and hopefully you do get that QuakeCon thing going, and I can sit down and play with you, and we can share a beer maybe.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear.
Yeah, same if you make it out to PAX Prime. Freaky and I are over in the Seattle area, so let us know.
Nice.
Speaking of which, we need to get a beer soon.
We do need to get a beer soon.
Now that I'm in West Seattle.
Oh, nice.
How about you, Freaky? Final thoughts, etc. What words of wisdom to share before we get off the air here?
I'll definitely want to. I'm definitely interested in what happens with Telos. That whole falling out of G or zero grav and back in. I love that. You mentioned a game winners that I wanted to try, but it was too expensive for me at the time. But definitely, we kind of breezed over it. But check out Strike Vector. It's like $20. It looks awesome, and I really want to play it.
I played Strike Vector for a long time. If you want me to dig in on Strike Vector, I can very quickly.
Go for it, man.
Yes.
Okay, so that game is, when I started playing it, it was really good. My only problem with it is that like the development speed of the game was very, very slow, and I don't think it got very much press. It was very, very fun to play, but I think a lot of people kind of didn't enjoy it because the game was air quotes too hard. Like they couldn't get their head around how the game played. When I played it with like a few Tribes players, and we had a great time with it. But I think that the problem that a lot of people were having with it was that they just couldn't get their head around with the way the game moved, and being able to crash into things all the time was just too much for them. So consequently, the game kind of fell off the radar a bit. But it's a good game, and it'd be cool to see what they do with that in the future. And I know they've added like CTF mode and stuff into it, so there's definitely some something there. But at the moment,
you just saved me $20, so.
Well, so the movement. The movement.
See the thing as well. I'll let you talk in a second. But the price point really hurt that game. If they released it for a little bit cheaper, that game would have been hype. But they dropped it in at 20, and that really, really was just it hurt the game a lot.
I was ready, like when you winners mentioned it, I was like, oh yeah, I'll check it out. $10. I thought it was free to play. Oh, I think it was $30 when they first came out. And I was like, no.
So is $10 the sweet spot right now?
I think so.
I think that they were hoping for like a Steam sale or something, but that game didn't even feel like it was complete when it came out as well. I think that was like they still had like I played the beta, so I was lucky enough to get in on that. And between the beta and the actual release, it felt like nothing had changed, and people were complaining about the game still feeling too beta. You know, you play a game like Cloud Built, which actually is a full game, but the developers are actually like still working on it actively. That's like where you kind of feel like the $20 price point makes sense. But even then, like, you know, I think that indie developers have to be careful with, you know, putting a game in at that and, you know, not putting too much PR out for the game. You know,
yeah,
Trivector was just very,
$15.
yeah. If you don't want to put the PR out for the game, put it in a lot lower. But if you do want to if you do get the PR and people are like, you know, giving it a lot of respect, then the $20 price point makes sense. That's why Rust is so successful.
Yeah,
So,
I think with Strike Vector, they're kind of industry vets, so they kind of went with the classic model of doing like an announcement trailer and then maybe like one other trailer and then a release trailer. So it's like they did it in short bursts, and I'm hoping my approach of a slow burn, slow rise will help that.
yeah, I think with indie games, I think it's like you're far more likely to be successful in the end if you do that slow burn, because people they have that kind of relationship with a game that builds over time, and that's the reason why games like, you know, Super Meat Boy built so quickly, is because people were getting more and more hype over it when it was finally released. You know, it sold like hotcakes. You know, you saw you probably all seen the indie games thing where it was finally released on the Xbox store, and they're getting loads and loads of sales very quickly because they built it on a slow burn, like you say. So
Yeah, and I want to, while I'm thinking about it, there's another single player game I've kind of enjoyed that's along those same lines, the Drunken Robot Pornography. Have you guys played this? It's Deja Bond Games that made it. It's horizontal robots flying around. It's supposed to be 3D bullet hell, I suppose, is the genre they've sort of put it in, but it definitely has that kind of movement. So shout out to them. And another single player based game of that nature that I'd completely forgotten about. We're so
I'm going to buy
organized
it right now.
It's a lot of fun, and people are making their own levels and stuff for it. So there's the Steam Workshop thing is the model for that, and I don't know. Yeah, I think you guys are right. I think that who would have thought that letting the community help make stuff for your game is a way to go in
Ka-ching!
video games? Yeah. Amazing, huh? But yeah, thanks again, Justin, for letting us know all this stuff about Telos. I share everyone's excitement about what you've got going on here, and definitely keep us posted on here and on the FPS+Z website as well. I know Fixious does a great job keeping all the information going on all that, and so definitely shout out to Fixious who keeps the fires alive for FPS+Z games among a lot of people who are still. I think it'll always be a type of gameplay that people will always enjoy. No matter if it's whatever the mainstream is doing, there'll always be room for it, I think.
Yeah, and thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely, man. We'll definitely have you back again, and good stuff on the panel from everybody tonight. So I guess that about does it, unless anybody's got anything to add to what we have already added here. I'm Winners with the One. I've really enjoyed being part of this and getting in this second episode of the Z Axis. Will be coming a little bit sooner than last time, I think, with episode 3, as a lot of things again are happening in this in the scene, and we're going to do our best to try to cover all those things. So I guess if that's all you guys have, that's about all I have too. So hopefully we'll see you next time here on the podcast on the Z Axis.